If you tell me you've got a desire, I'm all in. Do you want to grow?
Absolutely.
Take notes and make sure it improves your business. Everybody wants to grow. You deserve to grow.
You don't pitch to investors to try your luck. You pitch to investors to win.
If it's not challenging, I don't think it's worth it.
The right advice to give in business is validate the idea first.
Most of you out there who want to grow, your issue is just starting, isn't it?
It's important that people just follow what they want to do.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime for all of us.
The podcast is not about them growing, it's about them helping others grow. Hello and welcome to I Want to Grow. And I Want to Grow is a podcast about exactly that. Every single one of us wants to grow. But the people that we're going to get on our show is those people that are helping themselves, obviously, but it's more important to them about others growing. And that's where we've got a very special guest today with Emad. Emad, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
All right. So first of all, Steve, I'm so happy to be here finally on your amazing podcast. So my name is Emad Saif. I'm here because I want to grow. Actually, I came to Qatar because I want to grow, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But for a start, so I work currently as an entrepreneurship trainer. I work at Qatar University in an office called Office of Strategic Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. Long name.
Whoa, I'm glad I didn't introduce that one.
Right. So my basically work is around training entrepreneurs, creating content. My background is an engineer. I taught also in the College of Business for about 8 years or so. I worked in different kind of jobs, business development, sales. And I found myself now doing this, kind of trying to find ways to engage people, help them simplify complicated things, get them to start their own businesses, and at the same time have fun in the process.
When you say, you just said to me that when you came to Qatar, it's all about growth, right? You wanted to grow. What was it like? Why did you come to Qatar in the first place? And what was it like? Can you feel those feelings when you first stepped off the plane?
No, absolutely. It brings back a lot of memories. So when I finished my master's in entrepreneurship innovation, I was at the time in Canada. And I wanted to just go in and start my business, and that's what I did. But things were not so easy, Steve, as you can imagine. Things were tough. So I wanted to explore the outside world. I never actually thought of leaving Canada. That was my home. But I came across an opportunity. I was able to come to Qatar and actually work in the construction business. I was working as business development, believe it or not. But when I came to Qatar, it was an interesting shock. It's nothing at all what I imagined Qatar would be like. And this was back, the first time I came was 2010, I believe. I came for a visit. And then I said, wow. Actually, I saw the QSTP building, the Qatar Science Technology Park. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing place. And this place doesn't seem to have much entrepreneurship, just at the beginning. So there must be a place for me here. So I hustled, and I was able to come here, start again in the wrong sector. But then with time, I found myself here in this booming ecosystem.
Okay, hustle. It's like, people, because my business partner said, I don't like that word. But for people like us, hustling is a good thing. It's not, it's like you want to get up to speed as quickly as possible. And you've got to work at something and work at it, because you know, if you stand still, you're moving backwards. And if you're not moving forward, if you're not hustling, you're going to be taken over by the crowd. It's as simple as that.
I think you have to hustle. And I mean, going back to I love the topic or the name of your podcast, I Want to Grow, because you hustle because you want to grow. Sometimes where you are, it's like a tight shirt. You want to grow, but whether it's your environment, whether it's your workplace, you feel stuck. You feel you want to grow, you want to expand. So if you don't hustle, if you don't push, you say, listen, I want this. Listen, if you're looking for something, I might be your guy. This is the hustle, not being aggressive, of course, being polite, respectful, but showing the thirst that you want to get out. You want to explore and learn and grow ultimately.
You were in the construction industry. Did you like that? You were an engineer. Was it a good job, or obviously not as much as you wanted it to be, because you're in something totally different now? But what was it like then, having a job that you may have not liked?
Yes, I mean, in a way, it's somewhat relevant because I am an industrial engineer. I also worked in sales. I have a startup experience before. So altogether, it does in a way make sense that I can be a business development guy in a way. But the sector itself was new for me. The country was new. Everything was completely different. The way business works was very different than I thought in Canada.
Wasn't it just?
Yeah, so I did encounter things that I did not like. And to be honest, I did not like Qatar much at the time, because I felt it was very strange, and I was very picky on the things that I thought were negative. I completely missed out on the positive things that now I see. So it took me a lot of time to kind of understand. And I think when you switch the bubble, the place where you work, the people you interact with, all of a sudden, slowly you start shifting your mindset and you're saying, whoa, it's not what I thought it was, or people you see in a certain way. I did not interact much, for example, with locals. It was limited. But now that I taught 8 years of Qataris, males and females, and I get to love teaching and interact with different cultures as well, it changed everything. So now Qatar changed from a place that I was very critical of. I wasn't sure if I want to stay here, to a place now I call home. So
We call home. And the one thing that I want to bring up there is that when you do come, you've got to acclimatize, right? You've got to get used to the things that you're not used to. And I think we as human beings tend to be a little bit critical. Is your glass half full or is it half empty? And I think we can tend to be, when we're on our own and it is lonely and you've come to another place, you get into that vibe of being critical. And I keep on saying to people, listen to the birds sing. Listen to those beautiful things that you didn't hear for a long time. And that's what you've just said, is that you can be critical, you can be right on top of your work, and then you realize that, hey, listen, let me just open up a little. And then you hear the birds singing, and it's a beautiful sound. So that's what I think we've come to terms with now. Qatar is a beautiful home for us. And it's a wonderful place, and the people are great too. And it's growing and growing. But I've seen you grow, because I remember back then when you were coming onto the scene, and now looking at you, whoa, you've gone through a massive journey where all of a sudden, you've earned your stripes, as they call it, where you're taking some of the biggest groups of entrepreneurs, trying to get them to become entrepreneurs. And the way you do it is fantastic. How have you developed in that time, and what have you learned with this whole progress?
Part of it, I think, just who I am. I'm a person I love to learn, and I don't like to be limited. One thing I was always critical of in education is that it didn't change much since the Industrial Revolution. It's still pretty much the same. We have, the alarms like they had for the changing shifts. We have batch systems. We have a lot of things that still can be improved. So it's a bit slow. And I always felt, as someone who wants to learn, I want to grow faster. I want to learn faster. But the tools were not there. So I took it on my hand as whatever I do, I don't want people to feel bored. I don't want people to walk away and feel I didn't learn anything. So I always put the extra effort. Whatever I learned that is interesting, how can I simplify it, make it in a way it's digestible and it's easy to learn and it's also applicable. So when you take it, when you truly empower for example, with a new tool to maybe do your business analysis or whatever the case may be, now you have a tool that you can go on your own and apply it. So true empowerment in a way is when I pass on to you or give you a tool or knowledge that you can use to your own growth, and then you can help other people. This is my opinion, what really matters in education. Instead of just being someone who just received knowledge and that's it, stops, and maybe you get a little bit of this knowledge, but it has to be practical, it has to be useful, and has to allow you to feel something. And many people, I find that maybe they're dead because there's so much they want to express, so much they want to do, but it's not coming out. Yeah. So our job is not necessarily to help or to tell people to be entrepreneurs. My job is just to try to inspire them, just like I was inspired by people in my life to pursue knowledge regardless of the discipline you're in. Be curious about things, learn, and then it might be the case that you want to start a business at some point. I don't think there's one right time for you, but everyone is different. But as long as you understand that there are tools, there are people that can help you, there's a community out there that if you're serious and you want to grow, they can help you. And hopefully, I hope I was a factor in other people's growth as well.
You're definitely a factor. And let me tell you, if you've never met Emad before, he is the real deal. I'm telling you, he's a real deal. And what he does with individuals, what he teaches individuals is something special. He's taught me so much. So this is this is a real deal, let me tell you. And in saying that, as I've seen you progress, your groups of people that you talk to is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. How difficult was that to deal with? How did you learn that growth? Does it intimidate you by the size of the groups that you're doing this to now?
I don't think the number at all scares me. I can talk to 1,000 or 1,000,000 people. It's not about the numbers, because like here's that something we teach people in pitching. When you want to pitch an idea, you're not there to say, well, I'm sorry to take your time, I apologize. No, you are there. You have this gift. You have people's attention, and it's very limited. If you come in and you prepare, you do your work, and you're there to add value, that's the key thing. You're not there to waste their time. You're there to add value. So it's, instead of being fear, it's excitement. You're there to have their attention and say, listen, I'm so happy to be here. I prepared all this good stuff for you, and I can't wait to see what you think of it. And of course, by the way, if there's something I haven't done great or I can improve on, I would love to hear it from you. So in a way, it's not scary at all. How many people get the opportunity to interact with a lot of people and leave an impact on them?
Emad, just you saying that is so simple but so effective. I say, come on, I want to hear, and that's as simple as it gets, really. But it's kind of, people try to complicate it. How do you kind of, with your stuff, and we're going to go into the Lego side of things, but one question I've got. Do you build the person or the idea or the concept? What is the one that you need to build first?
I don't know. They have to go hand in hand. I don't think you just build one dimension. You have to build in a random. I don't think there's a system for me that I follow. I just think you have to just follow your gut and let things kind of work out, and then learn by doing. You might uncover a process that works for you, but I don't think it's one or the other, at least not for me.
I always say to people about the system with the website. If you want a website, 5 fundamentals that you've got to consider. 1, image and perception is everything. 2 is the coding, the development side of things. 3 is the search engine optimization. 4 is the content is king, and a content management system so that you can update it regular. And then I say to different people, I say, which one's the most important to you? Which one's one that's important to you? And they all go, if it's a designer, they say image and perception is everything. If it's a content writer, obviously it's content writing. So you get them to a developer, development, or anybody else. They're going to always prefer the one that I like search engine optimization. If you put all that work in and you don't get nobody finding you, that's a disaster. But it's just like you said about the question that I asked you. They're both as important as one another. If you don't have that complete package, you're always going to be having a flat wheel, right? It's always going to hold you back. You've got to have that kind of, you've got to have that complete package. What are those things that you teach people in the early days when they want to become, they've got that burning desire, you can see, how do you start that process for them?
For me, I think after now, I will not have the same answer if you asked me 8 years ago when I started. But I would say now I spend a lot of time do unlearning before learning. There's lots of beliefs that are limiting people, self-limiting beliefs that makes them think, for example, that I'm not creative or I can't start a business. A lot of negative things that we don't know where it come from, but partly from education, partly from family, partly, of course, not everyone. Some people are, of course, unique and different. Everyone is unique and different in a way. But before we go into for example, the typical tools we teach them about business, about what is entrepreneurship, about building a business plan, marketing, etc., whatever the phase or the knowledge you need, there's a human side that I think is missing, and that's what I try to incorporate a lot of the trainings. Because you look at all the, for example, trainings, day 1, day 2, day 3, across all the programs, and I've been involved in Qatar's programs for the last 10 years or so. So I've seen a lot of different program variation and structures. But there's not enough about the people, about the why you wanted to start your business, about the teamwork, about empathy, about maybe morality. You need to have the right drive. Some people are completely missed out because they think, I'm not here for the money, but I am here because I have a belief, I have a value, maybe that's social entrepreneurship. So a lot of people come in and they have all these biases and all these beliefs. First, we need to challenge them and figure out why are they here? What do they want to accomplish? And then you may hit one key word there that will touch someone, and that will be the key. Because many people come in, they don't say, listen, I want to be a millionaire, help me become rich. It's not that. There's an angle. Money comes after, but you come in with a why. Something brought you here. Whether it's the free food, whether it's a certificate at the beginning, but that's okay. Because if you listen and you hang out with these people, you're going to say, wait a minute, you know what? I I didn't never thought this was interesting what I heard about innovation, or I really like this thing. I didn't know that entrepreneurs get to communicate and pitch like that. I would love to be on stage one day and share my idea, or. So there's so many things. So in summary, I think that it's not just about technical tools. I found over the years that we are rushing people to say, yo, you want to start a business? Let's go. Instead, let's just take time to understand ourselves individually and also the trends, what's happening here, what's happening in the region, and where are we going? What are your beliefs? What are your fears? Once you talk about all that, I think that gives you more clarity on where you want to go. And hopefully we can be part of that journey to direct them in the right place.
I know I've always admired you, but talking to you now just gives me such a warm feeling, because I'm exactly like you. You've got to start. I try to start with the individual, asking them why. What is it you're interested in? I want to make money. Okay, what do you want to make money at? What's your love? What's your passion? What is it that you're going to make a real difference, a true difference? What's the thing that's going to give you that you've got the understanding of, you've got the knowledge or the skill sets that you can take it forward? And it's finding that empathy was another word that I loved that you said. All these things are so important in the beginning, because you define, that person's got to define themselves and what they want to try to achieve. And once you've started hearing that story, is there a simple process that you go through then to try to elevate them from that one idea concept into building it with your Lego, which we'll talk again in a minute? How do you do that? How do you take them from this point to the next point and keep building with them?
I think it becomes, in a way, kind of coaching, because I don't know the answer. I don't know where they're going to be. But based on how they respond to me, I may have a clue. So I will start them as, who are your role models? What moves you? What excites you? Do you have any particular favorite product or service that you observe? And why do you think that is? And once you start the ball rolling, the ideas start flowing, and then it's a matter of how far do you want to take it. Some people I find, for example, within the university, we don't expect everyone to go through our incubation programs to have a business. That's not realistic. But we do expect people to become entrepreneurial in how they think. So imagine now a professor, for example, who's applied to be in the incubation program that we offer. And then they don't make it forward. They realize it's too much work, it's not for them. But in the process, the knowledge they got, the approach in how we provided it, working with other people, being inspired. Now, guess what? If a student says, I have this project or I'm being in this program, most likely he'll be supportive versus someone who has no idea what is entrepreneurship. The way they communicate ideas, we've seen professors, for example, their style of communicating the idea because of the pitching, it's a very different way than teaching, for example, a seminar or a lecture. Very different way of communicating the ideas. So I think with time, once people become entrepreneurial, they become, you could say, supporting agents in the ecosystem. And all we want is, at the end, we're going to have successful stories and, inshallah, someday unicorns coming out of Qatar. But in the meantime, we need to start making people more entrepreneurial in the sense that they understand what is entrepreneurship and taking whatever the role they want in supporting the growth of the system in any way they want. But at least not to be an obstacle in living it. And I'll just add one thing. I also love now that there's a whole movement in Qatar towards having programs and government to support entrepreneurship. So now if we get policymakers, we get also investors, we get educators, we get students, we get young people, we get everyone in their own way saying, what is entrepreneurship? What is innovation? And how can I be part of it? Because, like it or not, you were all part of it. The future is all about innovation. We cannot escape it.
Yeah. No, I like the innovation side of it. And I like, but there's a place for everybody in whatever kind of area that is. But it's just, as you said, it's developing. We all dream about having that job that we love. And people say, yeah, in an ideal world, you've got to be working towards it. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So learn it as you go along. And that's another thing that I'm going to say to you. What have you, over the years, how do you think that you've grown better at what you do?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I've grown through my extremely difficult times. I've grown through the good times. Every moment, and it's something, one of the tools that actually I used for some students, I call it like a roller coaster ride, where we map out our top peak moments, whether it's career, personal, and you kind of see how your life went up and down, and it's very interesting. So I think these are the moments of reflection, the moments you look at them and say, whoa, where did I grow the most? Was it because I lost someone so much who was dear to me, and that really affected me? and how can I now live a better version of myself out of respect also for that person. I've been let go of a job before. I lost a job before. How did I deal with that? Now, hopefully, because of what you know about yourself, and you have more self-understanding and self-discipline, now you know you're going to make it. It's just now it's a dark place, but it's going to happen. So I think all these points that happened to me helped me. But I would say one of my biggest growth points was actually through Play Meetup, which I think we'll talk about at some point.
Yeah, please, we are going to.
But yeah, definitely that was a time where I needed to talk to a lot of people because I was going through a difficult time. And I think by helping a lot of people and hearing their stories over a period of time consistently, that changed me completely. I felt that I became more empathetic. I became wiser. I reflected more than ever. So I think all of us can take any point of our experience, whether it's positive or negative at the time. I think they're all positive. It's just a matter of where you stand in the roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
But once that happens, all of a sudden you start feeling I am growing. And one friend of mine who's a coach gave me a very interesting perspective. He said, there's trauma through growth. So when you grow, when you feel the stress, sometimes that's a good thing. When you feel like, oh my God, congratulations. If now you feel at work, you're going crazy, perhaps now it's a time. Everything is telling you that you have done the best you can. And it's fine. Maybe it's time to move on to something else. And it's not as bad. It's not catastrophic. It's the inflection point in your life where you're going to go a different direction and things may be much better. So it's just the perspective that I think...
they say, no pain, no gain.
Yes.
It's like, and with the coach, your muscles, you want to get fitter. That's what happens with your muscles. They get tired, start building again. They get tired, they get building. They get bigger and bigger and stronger. So that's what I find that is with people that I'm dealing with. You normally find, especially on the podcast, is they talk about, they reflect. When I'm talking to them, they're reflecting on those tough times, because those are where they get the good points also, because they realize what journey they had to where they are today, to feel really proud and exhilarated about what they've achieved. And I think that's in all of our growth. I think it's so important that we do look at those areas. But something that I've got with the coaches is, how do you keep yourself strong from the energies from other people? Sometimes, as you said, they might have had a loss and it might be affecting them. It might be something that they're going through. It's affecting them. We as individuals seem to be taking that stuff on. Has it been a tiring process for you with trying to do that to so many people?
Absolutely. It can be very exhausting. But I figured something out, is that first of all, you need to identify what energizes you. That's one thing. So you know when things get tough, you know what things help. For me, some things might be sports. If I do, for example, running, I've done swimming at some point almost every day, and that helped me completely rewire and relax. Other than the idea of recharging, is I figured out something, that if you're someone who wants to, let's say, give something to the community or be able to leave an impact, you have to divide. Now what percentage that goes, each person is different. I said, okay, something will be completely for free that I'll do to the community, because my job is to leave an impact. I want to feel that I left something or I helped other people. And there are things that, for example, can be monetized, things that, is how you make a living, it's how you decide to grow. So once you clearly establish that I'm giving part of my time, and I think everyone should, because the reward you get is incredible for yourself. And also a lot of this help that you do, when you meet a lot of people, it comes back multiple folds in different times, different places. So I think these are the three things for me: having the recharger, whatever works for you to recharge when you're down, and then decide which things you will do for free with zero expectations. You're doing it for the community, for the people to help. So someone may reach out and say, listen, I have this business plan or business model. I have a question I want to ask you. If I have the time, I'd say, please, yes, sure. But I'll make time once in a while. I cannot serve or help everyone, but I'll do as much as I can. And there are times say, listen, I have to work in my career. I have to progress. I have these particular goals. So I think by having that kind of balance, then you're able to survive the marathon.
It isn't easy though, because you do get pulled and from pillar to post. And that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to readjust with now is that all the requests that you get, it starts tripping you up, because you have to do your day job. You've got to do those things in front of you. But again, if you are doing something you love, it's easy to try to find the solution. So that's what I like, and I do like these things that you're saying, because I listen to you. Another question that was sticking out for me is do you ever get stage fright? Because you got to get up and get people interacting. And I've seen it where you've had 200 people in the room, and I'm thinking, I would be absolutely scared stiff right now. How do you manage that? Is that something you have stage fright with, or is it something that just flows?
That's a great question. I think biologically there's always fear. We as humans have that built in. So I do feel my muscles tense out sometimes, in my throat getting dry. It does happen. But mentally, I think once you have the reason why you are there again, and you think of it, I always think it's not fear, it's excitement. And sometimes you have really smart people in the audience. So I always remind myself, I'm not there to be the smartest. I'm there to help. I'm there to add value. So as long as you don't make it personal, it's not about you. It's about the audience. They're the hero, not you.
Yeah.
You're just there to guide or direct or share something with them. So I think there's a lot of tools that we can be a whole discussion about how to prepare for that. But I think just in short, I think everyone is capable of going, whether you are extrovert, introvert, it's just a matter of practice. And for me, after now years of doing this, I'm comfortable. It's not about the number. Because you have I've done sometimes when you have only one person or two people in a lecture where no one shows up, up to a full, big hall with a lot of people, listening. So yeah, I think it's fine.
I empathize with you when I see those numbers. I'm thinking, how would I do that? How would I get up and do that and try to interact and talk to people? And it's phenomenal. Now let's go on to your other stuff that you're involved with. You mentioned one already, but I really like the Lego, because I'm thinking, when I first saw this, I thought, Lego, really? How is that all about? What's that all about? What lessons can I use Lego for and give? So tell people what you do with this form of coaching.
There's a beautiful quote by George Shaw. He says, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." For the longest time, I thought I was nuts because I always wanted to play. I felt like, you're a grown-up, stop. But I realized there's a lot of research about play. Play is much deeper than we think. And there's a lot of scientific research that proves that play is not the opposite of work. Play actually, if used in the right context, can be a booster to productivity and do amazing things. So in my efforts to become more fun, more engaging in my sessions, I came across something called Lego Serious Play. So I became certified in this methodology back 2017. I wasn't really sure what it was at the beginning. It just seemed something creative, colorful. Sure, let's do it. It turned out to be something that changed completely my career and how I go about things. So Lego Serious Play is a methodology that helps us solve problems creatively. It's developed originally by Lego, but it's meant more for corporate training. So you have a team. They have all kinds of challenges. How do you go about activating that power within the team so they can share, they can do things? And by using Lego, we activate the sensory, you could say, kinesthetic, auditory, visual, all the senses together. So we amplify. So think of all these science fiction movies. If you wanted to get the most out of the human brain, it's by activating the sensory power. And with Lego, we touch on all that. So you'll see people in this process where, I give them as a facilitator a challenge. They will build models out of Lego, and then they share stories about them and they reflect. The process repeats, we go deeper and deeper, but ultimately what this does, it helps people to basically unpack the knowledge that within the system. You don't always need someone to come and tell you what the answer. You know the answer, but you're just not tapping into it because you're not activating your sensory powers. We call this, by the way, brain-hand connection. So there's 70 to 80% of your brain cells have a connection to your hands. So when you work and you follow the process, which has a lot of science behind it, all this knowledge start appearing to the top. Add more people around you who are playing with you, magic happens. You start developing better communication, empathy, almost feel like, imagine like a Wi-Fi, Steve, like it's just been activated. Now you're feeling, oh my God, I'm getting all these ideas, which is the opposite of a mental block where you're stuck and nothing is happening. And I've seen this over and over and over again. And so this method became something that I was fascinated with. I used at the beginning, teaching people about entrepreneurship, about innovation, and then I started expanding and seeing what else can I do with Lego Serious Play. I've done it with things with events like networking to help people who are scared of meeting new people to build deeper connections much faster. So you see people walking around with Lego models. We did it twice in Qatar, and it was a fabulous event. We should do more of it, actually.
I'm signing up. Well, let me know when the next
So people
one is.
hold the model and say, well, Steve, my name is this and this. So these now Lego bricks are no longer bricks. They are now elements of a story. They have ideas, they have feelings that you can communicate to anyone. It looks silly at the beginning, but once that happens, that becomes a new way of communicating with people. The most advanced now version of Lego Serious Play is we build the whole system. So imagine if me and you, we decided to do a workshop together where we invite the top, let's say, stakeholders in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, Qatar. We can build a system showing how does entrepreneurship look like today in Qatar and discuss which agents, which factors influence the system. And we can simulate what would happen in different scenarios, and then what we can do, what insights we can draw. And that work, it might take you months. We can do actually a matter of maybe a day or two. So this is and actually, I don't know if no one on the podcast before have given you this. So I want to be the first to give you a quick exercise, which will not take much time. So here in my hands, what I'm holding are just 6 bricks of Lego. Okay, so nothing special, right? You see, you can take them. So now I'll show you an example. So now a lot of people build literal models, Steve. They build a fire station, they build any set, Harry Potter, whatever you want to get from the Lego store. These are just sets. But here we build differently. You build metaphorical models where things don't necessarily look like the object you're building. So if I ask you, for example, to express, can you build a model, Steve, that represents freedom for you? And again, there's a lot of steps I would do normally where you're a bit scared. I know you're a bit scared to start building because a lot of people want to plan first. But if you just say, just play with your hand, it cannot be wrong at all. There are no wrong answers. Just imagine how would freedom look like if you were to build it with this, structure. And there's no, again, wrong answers. Imagine if your hands are giving you an answer. Just trust it.
See, and look, I've always... it's just I can build a person that's free, right? And it takes me back to my childhood, really, when you used to build your big city, but you would always start with your people, right? You would always start. So that was the easiest one that I could build.
So how is that freedom? If you just to think with no...
Because I can go wherever I want. I could be who I wanted. He could be a soldier. He could be a fireman. I could play with him and do whatever I wanted with him.
Beautiful. So what else, if you think of freedom, what other forms of freedom that you can see now in your model that you built?
Strong. I'm sturdy. I'm not sure what else. I'm always comfortable and safe. I'm there.
So you see, the way it's sturdy, it's strong. So also having the freedom, it's strength, it's power, right? I could say freedom of speech. This model right here seems to have an eye and have a mouth. So it's able to express itself and speak that's freedom.
Yeah.
So you see now all of a sudden when we start building models, and again, this will take much longer when we go to the workshop, but you get an idea that now the models can mean multiple things. And now all of a sudden our narrow-minded way of thinking about one particular definition changes. Now it's like, I don't see freedom that way. Now it can be multiple ways, or whatever topic you want to explore. So you see now when you're able to fiddle with Lego bricks with your hands, you're able to hold them and speak and share ideas, it's going to open up a whole different connection. So the outcome, the impact that I've seen from doing all these play meetups, which are social, basically, gatherings around the Lego Serious Play to address a social problem, which, in my opinion, is disconnection, it's loneliness, it's inability to express yourself, therapy. Some people call it therapy, different ways. This deep conversation that you feel understood finally. So this acts as a way that can get you finally to speak on what's on your mind, and at the same time, have this trust with total strangers who you never met before, and all of a sudden they become part of your community. Yeah. So imagine we can say, well, me and Steve, we had a chat. Me and Steve, we walked together. Me and Steve, maybe we ate together. But what if we played play is like an ultimate human experience that later on you say, oh, Steve, remember the time we actually played and we said this thing? Our memory, even of the moment, of the things that happened, would be so detailed. Your memory will be much stronger compared to other events. So that's in a nutshell what is Play Made Up. We're having these things usually every month, but I stopped for a year because I was exhausted, to your point earlier. I was doing it for about 4+ years, nonstop. And then even through COVID, I did some stuff online as well. I wanted to keep this going because I saw how it's helping people. But now it's time to figure out a way to scale it and make it sustainable.
I really like it. I've seen what the groups that you've had with it. I watch you on social media. It's phenomenal what you're doing. And with what you're saying, I want to explore this because the thing that sticks out for me is expressing yourself. That's probably been one of my biggest, when you don't express yourself, I've learned how to do it. And that's the fear of making a fool of yourself.
Yes.
And you keep quiet. You feel that churning in your stomach that you want to say something, but you don't want to look stupid. Or you just haven't got the ability to. Sometimes that's my inhibition, is that I don't feel I'm confident enough to talk to somebody at that level.
And if I may share something on this point, very powerful. I did one of the sessions in Morocco. This was a couple of years back. Usually in these sessions, people build individually until at the end we have a shared model where people kind of work together. One of the rules we follow in Lego Serious Play is that everyone on the table, the team, must participate. This was the first time ever that someone refused to share. They just sat on a table and they don't want to they built the Lego models, but they will not share. When it came to the time to do the shared model, usually we ask one person in the team to basically speak for the whole group. So this was a university student who refused to participate, and the whole team members were like, okay, fine, this guy is not even doing anything. The moment came to speak, he said, I want to speak if you guys don't mind. He said, okay, really? Sure. So when he spoke poetry. The way he explained the model was something I've never seen before. And while he was doing it, he had a tear. I'm talking about an adult male, telling a story, holding Lego models and having a tear. At the end, everyone clapped for this person. And to this day, I don't remember this moment. Like, it was so touching for me. Because then exactly as you said, Steve, I realized that some people they're not able to express themselves. And in that moment, Lego became a new language that this person found himself. And he got all this glorious moment. Everyone clapped for him and was like, wow, this is incredible, this guy. So a lot of people are introverts or people who are shy or whatever you want to call them. So they have this amazing stuff inside that is not coming out. So perhaps Lego might be one of the languages that if it touches that person, all of a sudden now they can express themselves and their voice will be heard. And lastly, for any teams, any CEOs, they have all kind of team members. Sometimes they have geniuses in the room, but they're not speaking up. And you find some of these people who finally speak up, all of a sudden have this amazing solution that can save the company, perhaps.
And that's the power, right? Because that's what I love about it. There's two things that I love that you've said here. When we go in, they do these hackathons, these different events where people just turn up and then you start putting them, they find people that they want to work with. Firstly, I've seen some magical bonds that have happened over that weekend where those guys or those guys are going to be a connection for the rest of their lives, because it was an experience that they both grew into and it touched their lives. So that's the great thing that I've seen what these competitions do, is they sometimes bring bonds to everybody. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that you see people excel, and it's okay that you're great at sales. It's okay you're great at design. You've all got a position to play. And when that team comes together, then special things happen, because then all of a sudden
magic.
Magic. It is magic, right?
It is.
It's magic. And to get that, and that's where my energy comes from. When you see some things that happen, and sometimes you don't know about it, and they'll come back to you after 4, 5, 6 years, and all of a sudden they'll look up and they say, what you said to me that day changed my life. Changed my life. And I think that's the love of this thing. And I implore people, I'm going to be doing this Lego thing. When you start back up, I'll be the first one to sign up for it. Please, you sign up for it, because these things, we're not just promoting this. this is something that will touch your lives and potentially touch your lives forever. So please take advantage of this. You're doing so much with the ecosystem here. Where's your next 5 years? What do you see yourself achieving? I won't say even 5 years. Let's not go as long as 5 years. But the next 6 months, the next year, what are you hoping for?
Me personally, like I think this always changes with every part of my life. The more I learn, I meet people, I'm always not sure where it's gonna be. But one thing I'm now feeling very strongly about is HI. Everyone's talking about AI, but what about HI, the human intelligence? Because everyone is now talking about the machine, but we cannot forget the humans. So in education, I feel the humans have been left out. In business, I think humans who are not, companies are not customer-centric are not gonna make it in the long run. I think entrepreneurs who will not listen to customers are gonna be, so we have to put the humans at the center, not in a selfish sense, but in a sense of, you have to have this self-discovery. I think there should be all kind of labs, just like they have incubators, place where you can explore yourself, where you can connect. I think there's a lot of tools now. If you talk, for example, about AI, the future of AI, there's a lot of things, skills that are needed. Maybe how to write prompt engineering is one of them. But what about creativity, empathy, teamwork? These are things that machines cannot learn, at least not anytime soon. So we need to nurture these skills so people can now do it. So I am hoping in the next 5 years, I'm able to, whether I create content or find new tools or help in any way possible to make people work better together, that you appreciate the human side of things and not make yourself as a machine. Because the other side of me is an industrial engineer. We worked in factories where I had to work the above average worker, below average. And that's one way of looking at it. But I think humans are so unique, they cannot be measured in the system. Sometimes it's applicable in maybe some ways, but in the same way, I want to see more efforts done to help entrepreneurs, innovators, originals, people who just want to get a bite out of life or make a dent in the universe before time passes out, that they have this self-discovery. Before, imagine if Beethoven was stuck when washing dishes, or Einstein doing something that is not with math or physics or whatever. So we have to have time for self-discovery where we make mistakes and it's okay. I wish that was something I was taught when I was younger, because I was very hard on myself, and I want people to be okay with making mistakes, experimenting, learning, and becoming creative.
Yeah. No, that's a brilliant. No, that's brilliant. Have you used AI yet? Have you used?
Yes.
Yeah.
As an artist, the most AI I have used, I've of course used ChatGPT, and we have to, because we are in university, we know it can be used for cheating. So you have to always be up to date with the technology, where it's going. But I spend actually quite a bit of time experimenting with the generative art, like Midjourney and other tools, because I love art. And now just the idea that I can imagine something with words and then it comes to life is something fascinating to me.
No, you've got to tell me about this, because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, so you can say, for example, a prompt, imagine create a picture or image of, for example, two guys in a podcast, one guy wearing a blue shirt, one guy wearing maybe a black t-shirt, table, engaged, hands spread, lighting, whatever. It can actually create a good image from there, and then you can keep refining it.
And
to me, this is fascinating.
What's that? Where do I get in? Where do I do that?
One actually, this is a hint for everyone listening. One of the best tools I found that is actually free, in the sense that the credits last a long time. Every day, usually most of these work on points or coins, and then you have to pay for longer. This one gives you 150 points, which you can do quite a bit of images, and then in 24 hours it recharges, so you can do it again. This one is called app.aristotle. App.aristotle. So anyone is welcome to try it on and use different models. If you do create, for example, things that could be landscapes, could be portraits, could be people, and then you can create the art high quality and also download it. So I love it. I think it's one of my favorite tools right now, and we can use it in presentations. We can use it in businesses. I think it has the sky's the limit, really.
But I think I like your HI, because I'm from the old school. I think human connection is a must. I think we've gone through the COVID, and I think we've got to explore this, because a lot of people have experienced being on their own, and I think we've got to keep on pushing the boundaries on those. I love AI. I thought I was cheating in all of the stuff that I was trying to put into it. I was just trying to educate myself, whether I was trying to kid myself. But now I can look at it, and I'm not afraid of using it anymore, because it's the expression. So as long as I put what I'm feeling in, then I can get it to help me put it into words. Now, what happens with those words is how I utilize them in my how I can utilize them, how I can interpret that, not interpret, how I can present it. And that's where I feel that it's helped me so much.
Absolutely.
Is it that this is what I was trying to say, and it doesn't sound very good, but just, can you help me, please? And I don't know why I say please I always say, oh, thanks for that, please, thanks, yeah, cheers. I'll always do that, just in case in years to come, he comes back in like me for saying it, right? But I always say, I don't know why, but it helps me so much. And as long as you try to stay in control and you do what's trying to make you a better person I don't see any problem with
There's
it.
a deep need for humans to have self-expression. Some people dance, some people write, some people play. These are all different things. So I think to be happy, to be someone who is, I shouldn't even say happy, because happy is, again, but if you have a rich life, I think we cannot argue that even if someone had ups and downs or whatever, but they had a rich life. Imagine this roller coaster or like a life signal in the monitor. The more of these ups and downs you have, the more this means in your short time on this earth, this precious time that you actually live through it. Instead of having imagined, yes, if I can you take it easy, you haven't tried new things. So by having the strength and being brave and saying, I want to express myself and try new things and not be afraid of being judged. And I think part of the play is when people start building these models, I always see it, they're always like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm right, or I haven't played. There's always these disclaimers. And at the end, it's like, yeah, this is that. And it's the best. And it's like, that's what I want to see. It's not arrogance, it's confidence. It's what they call it, creative, there's a word for it. Something about being the ability to express yourself, creative confidence. I think that's the word, creative confidence. So you can say anything creative, like children, without being worried of someone saying that's a stupid idea. Well, for me, it's a beautiful idea.
Beautiful,
and that's that.
Beautiful idea. Now I'm gonna put you. What were those tips? You've seen many startups starting their journey. What would be the 5 tips for you to say focus? Focus, 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 focus.
So regarding starting a business, one of the biggest challenges or common misunderstanding or misconceptions. One of them, for example, is that I want to serve everyone. So this idea about focusing on a particular customer segment, starting small, that's something that it takes a lot of people to understand. So don't aim for a huge market segment. Start with a smaller one and validate. And there's a lot of talk about that, but basically that's one. Another one is about working quickly, that you want to experiment. You want to get something out just relatively in a close amount of time. It's not going to be long. Otherwise, you're going to burn through resources, time, and nothing will happen. So just good enough. Just do it, experiment, and learn by doing. I would say number 3, also customer focus. I do have a hard time. As I know as an engineer, many people who come from a technical background, they're in love with the technical solution. We have to switch it towards customer-centric, the benefits versus features. So I don't care how many megapixels your camera has. I care about the quality moments I can capture with family, for example. Or I don't care about how fast in terms of kilometers per hour. I care about getting there on time for my meeting. So once you switch that thinking, that becomes more about the customer focused. Maybe another one is the why. A lot of people come in with the wrong reason. Just because it seems cool to have a coffee shop in Qatar doesn't mean you should have one. It's not for everyone. The why is different for everyone. Some people are made on this earth perhaps because they're going to make the most amazing coffee businesses, and some people will not be. So find the why, and that takes time to do it. I think that's 4, right? I think I have like 100 I can give you.
Yeah, I know
so,
you can.
So one last one, 5. I think this should be something that is not about the money, something about beyond it. Because there will be days you're not going to make money. So me as an educator, sometimes I may do something, training. I say, well, this is took a lot of time for me. Not making money from this. But what am I getting from? Not all the revenue is financial. Some revenue is the emotionals you get from satisfaction. You did a good job. From people's feedback that they come to you after and say, wow, this was amazing. And to your point earlier, I do get sometimes these people come after 5 years. When we were at the QDB demo day, I was welcomed by one of the young men. He said, "Oh, you taught me business years back, and because of this project, I became interested, and now I work for QDB." And I was like, "Wow, where did that come from?" So these small bits of appreciation happens because you put time outside just being focused on making money. Do something for the community, do something for other people, and it'll come back again in multiple folds with time.
Those events are brilliant to go to because you just realize it's affirmation for yourself. I'm not here to be a hero. I'm here to enjoy my life. And the only way that I enjoy my life is by helping others, because if I'm helping others, I don't have worries about myself. So it may be something valiant that I'm doing, but in fact, it's only because it's helping me get through my life. And seeing these people grow is the best feeling ever. You see them grow, you see them taking the steps, and you can only give them that advice as much as possible. They've got to walk this themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's where we come in, and that's why our stories here in Qatar are quite good. And I really envy what you've done. I see you get up on that and you hold that audience in your hands, and they're learning so much information. I've learned so much information from you. It's brilliant. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us today.
It's my pleasure, Steve. Really, I'm so happy, and I've seen the same thing that, with you, how you interact with people. You're such a good listener. That's something I hope to learn more from you, because when you talk, you lecture for so long.
Yeah.
You need to learn to listen as well. So it's
people say to me, that podcast, you talk too much in that one. And it's like, you've got to feel it, right? I don't think about the cameras. I've never watched a podcast back. and in all my time, I've not watched a podcast back because I'm self-critical. I'm like, we're never satisfied with what we've done. We always want to improve. And sometimes I'm now 56, 57 coming up to, and I'm getting a little bit slower. But you've just got to keep yourself pushing. And where I get my things is from people like yourself. The energy from is people like yourself, people like those startups that are just kind of giving you a call and saying, do you think you can give me some advice, please? And you say, yeah, of course. What is it? But it's a wonderful journey that we're on. And thank you for sharing with me and with our audience, because you are one special guy. And I mean that truthfully. What you give to others is far beyond. And I congratulate you.
Thank you for your kindness, Steve. I really appreciate it.
No,
Likewise.
seriously, Emad, you're a special guy. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this podcast today. For me, again, always. Do you think I'm going to bring somebody on that I don't have the same ending? This is a special guy. Our podcast is full of information that you can learn from. And the one thing I keep on saying on every single podcast is there are people out there that are willing to help you, willing to assist you, willing to help you take that next step. All you've got to do is introduce yourself, get to know them, share some thoughts, share some meaningful, share your journey, okay? And you never know what's going to happen. Until next week, bye for now.